Good day, everyone, and welcome to this Fastman Turbo Talk. I'm Brian Lapointe, joined by Renita Day, a highly skilled senior ECM consultant from Fastman. Renita and I have been working in the OpenText ecosystem for many years, and we're pleased to be speaking with Jessica Johnson from the Sonoma County Public Utility District. She's a senior business analyst for them. And worth mentioning, she's been in the industry for 10 years working with OpenText and participated yesterday during the first day activities to kick off this virtual Content Cloud Summit. Today, we're going to dive deeper into how SNOPUD uses the OpenText content management system in conjunction with Fastman tools to achieve a high impact and provide a solid foundation for a content aviator-driven solution. So, Jessica, Renita, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everybody.
So, without further ado, let's get started. First, please allow me to properly introduce Fastman. The company has been working in the OpenText ecosystem for almost 20 years with a deep expertise within OpenText content management, formerly known as the Extended ECM platform to many of us. We currently run 3 strong business lines, popularly known as managed services, managed agreements, and this now brings us to the Fastman Management Suite. The Fastman Management Suite, this is our out-of-the-box toolkit that will enhance any OpenText content management deployment by increasing the precision of your information governance, resulting in greater content aviator readiness. Within the OpenText ecosystem, Fastman holds several distinguished achievements. We're a proud solution extension partner of OpenText, for which the Fastman Management Suite is readily available to purchase. We also have ISV, System Integrator status, and OT Cloud certification for the OpenText Content Management Platform. So let's focus a little on AI success, or how to. As we learn and prepare to introduce AI automation to our businesses, the importance of information governance is critical to success. We are finding that this is leading to a heightened awareness to the importance of strong information governance and tools needed to achieve outcomes such as, a simpler way to manage access controls, or tools to safely and more effectively ensure that security of your information, or how about greater comfort that any breaches can be quickly and reliably rectified. At Fastman and OpenText, our customers, we are hyper-focused on this area, and together we're pleased to be sharing these best practices with you today. So let me dive into it and introduce the Fastman Management Suite for OpenText Content Management. It's an all-inclusive solution tailored to manage your business data. Our suite of products work together seamlessly, increasing their effectiveness and giving you complete control over your data, your users, and your business. Additionally, it reduces the cost of compliance per item managed, which is a key metric in measuring the ROI and success of any information management system such as OpenText Content Management. For the enterprise application owners in your organization, these must-have tools help you demonstrate content security compliance, with your internal audit process. As we take a closer look at the individual components, you'll find that our integrated user interfaces make even complex tasks easier to manage with minimal training and without the need for complex and expensive scripts or specialized IT support. By simplifying data migrations, functional access, permissions, temporary access, you can safely deploy more use cases and accelerate your overall OpenText and Content Aviator adoption. As we enter the age of AI-powered decisions and systems, it's critical to keep your systems finely tuned. We find that our customers will purchase the entire suite or deploy individual components based on specific needs. And this brings us to Fastman Permissions Manager. It's the #1 solution for enhancing how information is presented to an entitled audience using OpenText Content Management. From the dashboard, It lets you see exactly what's happening and identifies any cracks in your permissions model. Then it provides the tools to manage ongoing operations and make critical bulk changes. Renita, can you share with the audience a few of the important security elements that you can quickly determine from the screenshot of the Permissions Manager dashboard in this slide right here?
Sure. Thank you, Brian. So on the screen, what do we see? We see Edge Communication, which is a business workspace. Now, this business workspace is connected to SFTC. So it's getting synced from there. What we see on the screen is who are the owner, who is the owner group, and what access do they have. If you have enabled public access on the items and the sub items within it, it shows you that as well. Another important thing that you can identify here are the roles that are coming from the lead application, right? And with the connected workspace, where you have multiple lead application, let's say SAP, SFTC, Microsoft 365, right? You might be syncing your access and authorization from these different lead application into your content management system. And I think this tool provides you a great view of those synced roles and what permissions they are getting via the synchronization process. Additionally, sometimes you would add different groups as well and provide them different access based on their need. These are maybe users who have to directly use the content management system, not from a lead application. So you can use that as well. Um, Another important aspect of our dashboard is the filtering. And I would say that you can enter any user or group and find their effective permission. So it doesn't matter where they came from. They might be synced from SAP or SFTC, or it might be an AD group, but you get the correct access every time. So it's like a true view of the permission that they have on your unstructured data, right? And with large scale deployments where you have hundreds and hundreds of business workspaces, I think that visibility is very important, right? Jessica, I know that you guys have a lot of business workspaces and you have extended ECM integrations as well. So do you have any comment on the screen?
Yeah, this screen is vital to us. I mean, this entire part of Permissions Manager, especially since, in our environment, I don't know how other folks are set up, but we have 3 different ways that permissions are managed or granted in our content server environment. I mean, we've got folks who are provisioned because of the department that they're in, that they get automatically through Employee Central. We've got folks who are granted permissions because of the way that they get their SAP roles. So they get they're added to groups in Active Directory through the help desk. And then we have, like you mentioned, Renew, you've got groups that are given extra provisioning by the business, right? And so I just think that there wouldn't be any way that we could manage these as efficiently or as precisely unless we had this bird's eye view that we get from Permissions Manager.
Great. No, that's nice. But there's a few more things that come with it, Renita, too, right? It's not just the view, right? Yeah.
Oh, no. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? We have so much more. And yeah, that's the laundry list of all the functionality that we have. I'm going to touch base just on my top functionality that I really like from the product. I think the number one would be compare groups, right? You put in one person, you put in another person, it shows the group side by side. You can compare them. Great for onboarding, great for finding out missing permission. If you have a reference user, if somebody is leaving departments, you can compare their access, make sure that they have been added to the correct group for the new role. So it gives you a lot of insight about the users. I would also say that replace user works great. It gives you opportunity to put in an old user and a new user or group, and then move all their permission to the new user or group, right? And this will work very, very well. Again, if there are people moving from one department to other, if you are restructuring, great gateway in which you can have the new groups come in place of old, split the groups with their accesses, or even just, I would say, removing the deleted users and maintaining the sanity of your data, right? Making sure that the deleted user ownership are gone and they are replaced by the correct users who are coming in their place. Um, we also have the rollback feature, which is one of the most used features, I would say. When you do a mistake, you want to make sure that you roll back to a time when the permissions were correct. So it's that oops moment where you have done a slight mistake and you want to just go back to that place where everything was right. You just use our rollback feature and you have that correct permissions set in no time. So great features overall. I think the other features also provide you great tools to do bulk changes, which can just help you setting new permissions or updating existing permission in a very effective way. And you can again go back to the dashboard just to make sure that the changes that you have done so far have been correctly reflected, right? So no more guesswork. You see exactly what has been updated, and you can verify that as well as you go on.
Great. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So, I mean, just in summary, I mean, just having that true view from the dashboard to exactly
Yeah.
what's happening within all these systems are very complicated these days with all the different integration and the way that people are being granted access. Keeping that's the power of the OpenText content management platform, that it's able to achieve this. It's very difficult to do it with any other system other than OpenText. And then with the Fastman tools on top of it, you have the best of both. So
The granular
okay.
control.
All right. So at this point, how about we just transition a little more and do a little bit of a deep dive into SNOPUD, how they've been using the tools, and let's just talk a little bit about how SNOPUD is a utility. It was established a long time ago in 1936, essentially for the purpose of providing publicly owned electric and water utility service to the people of Sonoma County. Its history is linked to the what they call as the public power movement in the Pacific Northwest. And since it operates in a highly regulated industry, it's important to maintain robust records management and document control for its critical infrastructure. Hence they selected OpenText Content Management as their top choice there. So, Jessica, would you like to kind of introduce yourself more and then explain to the audience your primary use cases for OpenText content management?
Yeah, you bet. So I'm Jess Johnson, and I've had the unique opportunity to have been working at the district for a total of about 15 years now, and the first 10 of that was spent in IT. And so when I was in IT, I did actually a lot of working on permissions and provisioning access. And so these last 5 years have been spent in data and information governance. And so naturally, when I came here to dig, I sort of gravitated towards that aspect. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Content Server and OpenText is that it really allows, it gives the power to manage access really to the people who own the data, right? And I think that's really important. It gives them to the people in the business. And then one of the things that I really appreciate about Permissions Manager is that they allow those people to do it well, right? So we actually have licenses that allow our super users, we allow them to have access to this tool as well, so that they can really get in and have those same privileges and ability that we have to do some of those things that we highlighted in some of those earlier slides. And as you mentioned, as a government entity, we are often tasked with providing a snapshot or information about not just who has access now, but maybe who had access when. And sometimes it's not even a matter of who has the access, but how they got the access. Who was authorized to provide the access, and that's something that Microsoft doesn't really or didn't really have going for in the past when we were on-prem. And so this tool has been amazing for us to be able to feel confident in our being able to meet our compliance standards.
Great. So, well, let's just dive in a little more, and then talk about how you've been using the system, and go over your SNOPUD journey. Um, can we take a look at how you're keeping the lights on at SNOPUD, Jessica?
Yeah, you bet. So right about in 2012, we just knew that as a government entity, like I said before, that we needed the ability to have that retention and that electronic discovery. It was paramount to our journey forward. And as I mentioned, again, we are subject to public records, the Public Records and Disclosure Act. And so as such, we do have to provide within reason documents that the public asks for, right? So our on-premise infrastructure just was woefully inadequate. We didn't have any tools or the ability to be able to produce that stuff when it was required of us. So at the time, again, because we had a vast majority of our documents in SAP, OpenText really seemed like a great fit for us because of its ability to connect and have that be that repository for those SAP documents. It was pretty straightforward move for us, and our security for the SAP portion was also very straightforward, right? But when we decided to add our unstructured data, because again, we've had this repository over here that has great ability for this retention, has this amazing ability to have a lifecycle management and e-discovery, we thought, hey, we're going to go ahead and pick up these other documents that we have and throw that in there too. We had to come out and sort of design or decide what we wanted to do with that type of security. And as I mentioned before earlier, we have a few different ways that we manage that or grant that type of access, right? So the nice thing about it, again, was that by being able to be thoughtful and come up with that plan for those groups that we created, and then having a tool like this to be able to spot check our work and find out where there were any hiccups and be able to easily rectify those, it made the process really easy. And then, of course, with bulk data management, which of course I don't think we've gotten to yet, we had to lift that information and get it in there somewhere. So I know we're kind of giving us a spoiler alert, but how do we get that information in there when you have this vast amount of information sitting on your sitting on your resident share over here, on-prem share, get it into our cloud repository. So luckily, you guys had a solution for us for that too. So
great. All right. And Renita, what do you think of this journey they've been on? It's something you've seen in your history. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think this is very common across organizations where they go for the content management platform for the records management capability, the search capability, and as they go in, they realize that they can integrate it with their lead apps, create business workspaces for that, connect that process with the unstructured data. And as that system grows, they realize they have to bring other divisions in, maintain the permissions properly. So it was like a natural progression that they went for permission manager and bulk data manager there. So I don't see any surprises there.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for this next section, we're going to take a closer look at where the Fastman tools are having a high impact for SNOPUD. And deployed at SNOPUD, they have two Fastman solutions, such as Permissions Manager and Bulk Data Manager. And I have a question for you, Jessica. What's your favorite Fastman tool and why?
It's like Sophie's Choice, right? You're making me pick one. That's terrible.
Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, it's tough because they are so highly specialized. They're specialized in their uses, and I can't imagine doing my job without either of them. So, I think one of the things I can tell you what one of my favorite things is in Permissions Manager. I think one of them, of course, is the ability to compare users or compare, being able to compare groups. When I compare users, I think that's one of the first things that I do whenever when I'm troubleshooting or when I'm going to provision a new hire. When you're looking to onboard somebody, or there's been some really big issues that I've been able to resolve just when I have to, when somebody just says that they're unable to do something, and I can just pull that up and see that something's out there. I also use, I've been able to fix issues where there's just maybe one or two folders that are an issue in an entire share, and I don't have to make changes to the entire repository. That's been a huge time saver, and I have like a cool example of that I can share later. Um, you know, uh, but I guess without Bulk Data Manager, there wouldn't be a lot for me to do in this arena because a lot of our permissions are managed through the SAP roles. And so that's kind of automatic hands off for as far as permissions are concerned. A lot of our permissions get a little dicey when we're talking about when people can manage the permissions, and there's groups that come into play, and there's specific permissions that you can apply on at a folder level. I mean, permissions can get very granular in content server, which is one of the things we love about it, right? You can create this really finite, granularity of permissions, but we know that can also go a little haywire when you're trying to figure out why a person can't do something, move a document or get into a folder or do something they need to do. And so this is a tool that you need to be able to get into to utilize that. So without, which came first, the chicken or the egg, without Bulk Data Manager sometimes to get that information in there, and I love Bulk Data Manager and the way that you can save yourself a lot of headache and a lot of work by really filtering out some of that stuff before you even get it in there, which I think I talk about a little bit more later on too. So I'm going to talk about.
Well, so next up, like one of the scenarios we have here is about using, a popular feature within content management system called collections, right? So how do you use collections?
I've used collections quite a few times when I am trying to, somebody's asked me for a subject matter that I've had to search for, and I want to be able to give them the ability to access that information, but not try to make them go hunt for it everywhere. So a lot of times, like if I want to compile that information in one place, but not move the data to that same place. So that's a lot of times the way that I will use a collection. I know there's numerous other uses for it, but that's the first one that comes to mind. How I've used collections in the past is just a really quick and easy way to give somebody a slice of things if I'm doing the searching for them, and be able to just give them a shortcut to where it's at.
And then one of the popular features our customers talk to us about is being able to run Permissions Manager on that container. So when you're sharing
and that's how you give them the rights. Exactly. I guess I buried the lead there. Yes. So one of the nice things is, again, when I'm putting something together for, like, let's say legal, and I want them to be able to get access to these documents that might be responsive. One of the problems is the documents that I'm pulling from might be all across the district in places they would never have access to. But in this particular instance, I can easily grant them that temporary access or that access to that collection so that they can easily get that in one place, again, without compromising the information or changing anything, moving that information. Right. So it's a great tool to be able to do that.
Good point. And we've mentioned this a few times about compare and copy group membership. Feel free to add a few more comments about that.
Oh, yeah. Copy group membership is a lifesaver. I don't know how many times, especially when I used to work, again, in the help desk, when somebody would say, this person's taking over for this person. I need them to have the same permissions as that person. It's so difficult when, if you didn't know what that person had, how do you copy what they have? And so many times we find that in the Microsoft environment when it's a matter of having specific permissions on a specific folder. And so we try to do everything with the group memberships. And so it's really easy to actually pull up that user and visibly see the group memberships that they belong to. And copying is as easy as you have a little check mark and a button, and you can just click the little buttons to one side and make it so that their profile is exactly the same. And so that's super simplistic, super great. And so many times it's very easy in a troubleshooting standpoint too, because the groups that we have that are provisioned through SAP look completely different than the groups that we build. And so a lot of times if we're not sure if something should be provisioned through SAP or an SAP role, it's really nice to be able to pull them up side by side too, and be able to say, oh, actually you do have all the groups that this person is supposed to have granted by the business. And if you don't have access to something that they have, it's because the only roles they have that you don't have is an SAP assigned role, which means that you've missed a step and you need to go through and ask for that role in SAP. So we can kind of boot them back to the SAP group and say, go through that, GRC request, go through that SAP request and get what you need through there. And that's been incredibly helpful many times, because it would be possible technically for somebody to go in and granularly, again, specifically grant them rights to that folder, but that would be breaking a policy, breaking a rule, because they don't technically have the SAP rights to see the data on the SAP side.
Yeah. No, I mean, it brings you a lot of good help desk tools to kind of triage a situation so you can kind of get to the bottom of it really quickly without going down a path you don't want to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So we're going to move on. One more slide here. You've brought it up a few times as one of your favorites here, the bulk data manager tool. Anything to comment about this?
Yeah, I mean, I use Bulk Data Manager quite a lot. I transfer, because what I do first is I sort of clean up the information, or we kind of help the users clean up their information in their current on-premise environment. And then we build sort of the dream folder structure that we want to do, and then we migrate it into our area that we're going to have in Content Server. And one of the things that I really appreciate about the ability to do that is that the metadata that we have in our environment on premise comes over into the cloud. And one of the reasons why that's so important is because you can imagine if I were dragging and dropping or moving this stuff on my own, new dates would come over. So the date would show today's date, it would show my name on it. Nobody wants to see the documents. You know in Content Server, you can search by who created the document, when the document was created. That is not helpful. And especially when we talk about cleanup, I tell my folks, clean up as best as you can, but it's okay to put some of this stuff into Content Server, because when we put lifecycle management on the documents in Content Server, the trash is going to take itself out, right? Because we're going to put retentions on these things. And if they're over a certain date, they will come up for retention. They will come up for disposition. That we can go ahead and delete them through process, right? If the metadata is correct. Another thing that I really appreciate is it gives you the option before you import the information to go ahead and create an Excel spreadsheet to actually look it over first. And so many times we found in our system that even when you were filtering out, system files, Windows doesn't quite think that a thumbnail is a system file, right? And so they come over and we get bogged down with all these stupid thumbnails. We can go ahead and sort that Excel file by thumbnails, delete those lines, and then when we import, we're not importing these ridiculous thumbnails that don't do us any good in Content Server, right? So little hacks like that, and then we can go ahead and continue the process, but do the upload from that Excel spreadsheet, and we're getting just good, clean data with that metadata. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with the Excel spreadsheets. You can combine Excel spreadsheets. There's a lot of neat things that you can do there when you get used to using BDM. And so, yeah, it's a great tool, and it works really well and really quickly. And it gives you, the logs are super, super invaluable. So many times we will validate everything that we bring in, because we want to make sure that our users are confident that everything that they transferred or everything that they have got transferred in. The logs will tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt the things that didn't come in, and you can go back and try to figure out why. And many times it's something simple, path was too long or something happened with that particular document. You can move it over manually.
Great. All right. So I think we're coming up on time, to be honest with you. So Renita, anything that comment about the bulk data manager before I kind of wrap things up?
Yes, I just wanted to say that it works great with cloud deployments because the footprint for BDM is very, very less. It relies totally on the APIs provided by content management. We have just a small service that needs to be deployed, which you can do on-prem or on cloud. So connecting to a cloud-hosted content management is really simple, right? And what just said, loading, updating attribute becomes really easy with that. Yep.
Here, thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Renita, for spending time with Fastman today and sharing your valuable insights to the OpenText content management community. I know
Thanks for
that
having me.
I know that the Fastman technical delivery team really enjoys working with SNOPUD over these years, and we're especially proud to play an important part in your journey from as you went from on-prem content management to the OT cloud and maybe beyond with Content Aviator. And I hope this Turbo Talk will help many of the other OpenText content management users with similar information governance use cases that fit within this Fastman sweet spot. So well done, and please keep us posted on your journey. And thanks for joining us, everyone, today.
Thank you.
Thank you.